The Soulslike genre has a lot of detractors, and their criticisms are sometimes pretty valid. They can be too dark, have inscrutable stories, be difficult for difficulty's sake alone, and the gameplay can be too complicated. There are a lot of games out there where all these points are exemplified. Despite all that, I love the genre. I'm always seeking out new ones to play, and I just finished one that came out several months ago. It's the first Souls-like in quite a while that has truly resonated with me. That game? Another Crab's Treasure. Another Crab's Treasure was developed and published by Aggro Crab. It was released for PS5, Windows, Xbox One, Xbox Series XS, and Nintendo Switch on April 25th, 2024. The studio is known for their humorous and satirical approach to game design. Their first title, Going Under, hilariously critiqued startup culture. And with Another Crab's Treasure, they've proven their ability to craft a meaningful and challenging game while maintaining their signature wit.
You mean my shell? Yeah, it's mine. Do you like it?
Another Crab's Treasure tells the story of Kril, a hermit crab who's lost his shell, his home, after it's been repossessed for unpaid taxes to the Duchess.
I've got some questions.
Look, kid, I don't have time to argue political nuances here. I've got a lot of tax evaders to get to.
The premise starts light-hearted, but quickly veers into darker waters. What begins as a whimsical adventure to reclaim your home turns into a harrowing exploration of capitalism, consumerism, and the environmental toll of waste. I went into this game thinking it'd be cute all the way through. It is cute, with lots of dad jokes and puns, but it ends up being way darker than I expected. The game has a clear message. Humans need to change their ways, or the world as we know it will perish. It's heavy stuff. The story is, in part, told by NPCs. These characters are lovable, hateable, and everything in between. The voice acting for Kril and the NPCs is top-notch.
Has recently annexed the territory surrounding and including this tide pool. I'm here to inform you that you have outstanding taxes that date back and upwards of 10 tides. If you are presently unable to pay this balance, the duchy will claim you home until you...
Hold on. I've got some questions. First of all, what's a duchy? Also, taxes?
These characters and their voice actors inject humor and heart into the world, but they also continue to solidify the narrative. The polluted ocean setting becomes a character in itself. There's trash everywhere, entire cities made of it, creating a stark backdrop for the narrative's biting social commentary. And while one person or crab might not be able to change the system, the game underscores that turning a blind eye to these issues is just as harmful as the problems themselves. The ocean's rage?
Know what I am? I am a dream, little crab.
Its holding of a mirror in front of us humans makes you finally realize, if you haven't already, that this is not some cute, goofy game. It's as edgy as any acclaimed indie game, and I wonder whether a AAA studio would have been able to pull this off. The combat, much like its Souls-like inspirations, is challenging, yet mastering it is extremely rewarding. You get one weapon, a fork, upgrading by collecting stainless relics. They look like generic Master Lock keys, and you bring those to a blacksmith. Movesets are what any gamer with experience in the Souls-like genre would expect. There are light attacks and heavy attacks, and obtaining certain skills add more options. There are other ways to attack enemies aside from your fork, and we'll get to that in a bit. The best feature of combat, in my opinion, is the parry system. The method for parrying is unique. Instead of tapping the block button right as the attack lands, you hold it and then release it just before being struck. Parrying and attacking fills a stagger meter, which is shown below the enemy's health bars. Once you've filled this, the enemy is vulnerable to a number of attacks which can take large chunks out of its health. Since Kril has lost his shell, he's particularly vulnerable to damage from enemies. He mitigates this by using a number of pieces of trash to serve as a makeshift shell. Each one of them has a shell spell, special abilities that damage the enemy or buff Kril's defense. One example is the soda can's fizzle spell that releases bubbles that damage the enemies. You need umami charges, the game's version of mana, to cast these spells. These charges can be upgraded by collecting old world whorls. Try saying that 10 times fast. Another way to damage enemies and indeed traverse are abilities called adaptations. Adaptations are obtained by defeating specific enemies and speaking with certain NPCs. These are special attacks, like a staggering inducing punch or an electrical shock. They can be upgraded using umami crystals, obtained for specific enemies or crystals scattered throughout the game. You can and should upgrade them, but the ability to do so is attached to discovering a secret boss. There's no straight path to victory in this game. Umami crystals are also used to unlock skills in an extensive skill tree, with every ability crafted thoughtfully. None feels like an afterthought, reflecting the care and effort poured into their design. You make your character stronger by spending microplastics to level up your stats, like vitality and resistance, just like most Soulslikes. You aren't permanently locked into a certain stat distribution, skill tree assignment, or adaptation upgrade. You can spend items called shark eggs to respec any of these. Speaking of combat, the boss fights in Another Crab's Treasure are excellent. From the first encounter to the last, every battle is expertly designed with unique mechanics that keep you on your toes. There are plenty of bosses, and honestly, I don't think any of them was a dud. Each fight was not only challenging, but also incredibly fun. Traversal is another highlight. Grappling with hooks feels incredibly smooth with zero jank, making exploration enjoyable. Platforming is mostly simple, though there are some tricky sequences with worthwhile rewards. However, level design is not the game's strongest suit. Areas like the shallows and the sands between are flat and featureless, making it easy to get lost. And it's sometimes unclear if you're supposed to make a jump. Pro tip, keep trying. If it seems close enough, you might find a whole new area. The map doesn't do the game any favors either. It simply isn't as helpful as it could have been, and you can't place markers or customize it in any other way. But may I say, thank goodness falling isn't an insta-death. A welcome departure from other Soulslikes. Accessibility options are excellent. You don't just choose between easy, moderate, and difficult. You apply specific mods to make the game easier. You can equip Kril with a gun that one-shots every enemy, including bosses, or turn off mechanics like losing microplastics, the in-game currency, when you die. You can even disable fall damage to ease platforming. These options make the game approachable for a wide audience. The game's underwater environments use bright, exaggerated colors to create a unique and striking aesthetic. Despite the simplicity of the visuals, these bold designs help certain locations stand out. Trash piles often serve as both decoration and functional elements, blending environmental storytelling with gameplay mechanics. For instance, a ratty tennis ball isn't just a visual prop. It's a combat tool and a clever nod to the game's environmental themes. While the character designs are vibrant and full of personality, including expressive NPCs like goofy shopkeepers and intimidating crustacean bosses, the overall graphical consistency can falter. Some areas feel underdeveloped, lacking the texture and verticality needed to enhance navigation and exploration. These shortcomings make it easy to get lost and detract from the immersion. That said, the game's cartoonish style successfully sets it apart from the dark, grim tones typical of the Soulslike genre. It creates a whimsical, underwater world that complements the humor and charm of its narrative. Even though the graphics are relatively primitive by today's standards, the thoughtful use of color and design choices ensures a memorable visual experience. The music is exceptional. Sometimes somber, sometimes playful. It perfectly complements the game's tonal shifts. The closing credits song by Def Sharp is especially poignant. Def Sharp's contribution adds an emotional resonance to the closing sequence, offering a memorable auditory experience. The game's soundtrack was composed by Feasley, a Seattle-based musician known for creating atmospheric and eclectic compositions.
With some time and rubbing alcohol, the stains on me might fade. But nothing.
What truly sets the audio apart is how seamlessly it blends with gameplay moments. From the haunting melodies during tense battles to the upbeat rhythms that accompany exploration, the dynamic soundtrack adapts to every situation. Even environmental soundscapes like the gurgle of water or the clink of trash enhance immersion, making the oceanic world feel alive. That said, the audio experience is not without flaws. Players have reported occasional technical issues, such as long stretches of silence or tracks that fail to loop properly. These moments can detract from the atmosphere, but don't overshadow the overall brilliance of the sound design. Fortunately, I did not experience this bug, so perhaps it had been patched prior to my playing the game. Despite these minor hiccups, Another Crab's Treasure delivers an auditory experience that is both striking and integral to the game's charm. Currently priced at $19.79 on Steam, Another Crab's Treasure delivers excellent value for its price. With approximately 20 hours of gameplay for an average playthrough and even more for completionists, there's plenty to explore and enjoy. The game is packed with hidden areas, optional boss fights, and countless collectibles that make exploration rewarding. Even after finishing the main story, the intricately designed skill tree and diverse shell spells invite players to experiment with different builds. While the lack of a New Game Plus mode is noticeable, there's apparently one on the way in a patch announced by the devs on Discord. For now, the lack of it doesn't completely overshadow the game's replayability. During my trophy hunting phase, I realized I had missed several optional encounters and secret areas, reminding me that Another Crab's Treasure rewards curiosity and persistence. Players who enjoy creating multiple save files to try out different strategies and builds will find plenty of reasons to dive back into this vibrant underwater world. For its price, the game feels like a steal, especially considering its quality and depth. Whether you're here for the challenge, the story, or just the sheer joy of experimentation, Another Crab's Treasure delivers a replayable experience that'll keep you hooked. Let's give the game a score. I give a maximum of 2 points for each of 5 categories. Then I add them together to get a final score out of 10, which I call the Maestro Mark. Narrative, 2 points. The story is humorous yet somber, and is as flawless as any game narrative can be. Gameplay mechanics, 1.5 points. The combat is fantastic, but the level design was uneven and the map was lackluster. Graphics and art direction, 1 point. Again, it's uneven here, with some areas having meticulous detail and others falling much short of that. Music and sound, 2 points. The grand score, in the setting of what must have been a limited budget to produce, is awe-inspiring. Value and replayability, 2 points. You can milk a lot out of this game by exploring every nook and cranny and creating different builds. An upcoming New Game Plus feature will add even more hours of gameplay. This gives a Maestro Mark of 8.5, which means I think you'll love it. Aggro Crab has delivered a thoughtful and fun experience with Another Crab's Treasure. It's a game that mixes humor, challenging gameplay, and meaningful commentary in a way that's both entertaining and impactful. So, should you dive in? Absolutely. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.